welcome. It's great to see everybody here already, saying hi in the chat and all of that. I really appreciate it. Good morning, good morning. I hope you are well, and it's raining here in Joburg, so it's fantastic. I love the thunder, I love the rain, and it's not that, sort of thunderstorm that's just rushing down. It's this like very cool and like drenching kind of rain at the moment. It does come and go, but it's awesome, so I really love it. Welcome. I'm going to talk a little bit about reinvention today, and it's something that I have been I think I've been thinking about this for quite some time, and it's been on the list for a very long time, but it just never felt 100% right, although I guess a lot of us will feel that lockdown was the perfect opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves and the way we do things. So, I really want to get into that, how I view it. I'm not going to tell my story again. I've told it before on a previous episode about what I went through and the process that I followed, and that to sort of get to where I am and to figure out what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. But I can also tell you this, that it is an ongoing process. It is not necessarily this is it for everybody. It's not something you do once and then you forget about it. I'm going to really get into it. I'm going to talk about what reinvention is. I'm going to talk about why it's important to reinvent ourselves, and when do you know that it's actually needed. When has the time come for you to reinvent yourself and the way you do things? And I will also then look at what is keeping us from doing that, and then I'm going to give you 3 practical steps that you can follow to just do, or to do exactly that. But I'm going to do 2 sets of 3 practical steps, because there's sort of 2 reasons why you would want to reinvent, or two ways in which you can reinvent yourself. So once I've spoken about that, you'll see that we'll branch out into 2 different things, and I'm going to try and give you as much value as I possibly can this morning, but keep it extremely simple, because I can break this down into 100 steps if I wanted to, if I needed. I'm pretty sure that's possible. But I just want to say, where do you start? What do you do? And how do you get going after deciding that, listen, maybe it's time to reinvent myself? So anyways, with that intro, good morning, everybody. Very nice to have you here. Adrian Jordan was in the house first this morning, so good morning. Good morning, Denise. Nice to have you with us. Kobus, good morning. Stephen Nell, good morning. Tinus Brits, Rizaan Oosthuizen, good morning. I almost say good morning to myself. Francis Neetling, awesome to have you here. It's been a while. Welcome. Very nice to see you. I hope it's going well on your side of town. Casper, good morning. Nice to see you. It's been a while. Chart as well. Good morning. Mark, good morning. Thank you for sharing the post on LinkedIn. I saw that. Thank you so much. Carol, good morning. And Mark Bullock, good morning. Welcome to everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, before we get going, I need to sort of announce a couple of things. It'll be very quick this morning. So first off, got a new supporter. Thank you very much, Johan Vosloo. Yay. Johan also signed up as an Avenger. So thank you very much, Johan. I deeply appreciate it. And if you want to join Johan in doing exactly that, you can go to patreon.com/VCF. And this is to support the show and the growth of the show. And it's completely voluntary. If you want to, you don't want to, doesn't really matter, although it's greatly appreciated. If you do that, you've got full control over, when you want to stop. And you can stop and continue and do all that kind of stuff. So if you want to do that, you're more than welcome. At the moment, we're on 5 patrons. So we've got Kobus, Denise, Janice, Johan, and then that one person who asked me to remain anonymous. But we've got 5 so far. So slowly but surely we're growing. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you very, very much for taking that step and doing that. I deeply appreciate it. And I look forward to see where we take the show. Got lots of plans. Alrighty, so what else is there? So on, when was it? On Thursday, I think, I had coffee late in the afternoon with Kobus and Tanya. So you'll remember Tanya was on the show, and now I need to remember, was it episode 60? I think, 60, where we spoke about the power of positivity. So, Kobus was kind enough, seeing that I introduced him sort of, how would I say that? Like, not formally, but informally via the show. I made him aware of Tanya, and he really connected with her as well. And he bought us both a book, and he got it to sign it for us. So thank you very much, Tanya. I think it's so kind of you. I don't know if you can see it, but there's the inscription and all of it. So if you want the book, it's in all the bookstores. So it is at Exclusive Books. I saw it there. But also, if you want the electronic version, I think you can get it from Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. So, Kobus, thank you very much for my copy of the book, and to Tanya, obviously, for taking the time to meet with us. So, thank you very much. Here is a quick, I think I've got there's a quick thingy. Yes, there we are, proud to be with Tanya. She's really a phenomenal person. If you haven't watched that episode about the power of positivity, I really want to urge you to go and do that. On the VCF portal, I've under the featured list, if you go to the featured episodes, I've actually added her episode there. So you can see 5 brand new episodes that are being featured. If I say brand new, it means that list changes every week. So there's 5 episodes that I'm featuring this week, of which one is where I spoke to Tanya about the power of positivity. So go and check that one out. And you really, really enjoyed and find a lot of value. At the time, we got a lot of great feedback from that interview that I did with Tanya. So Tanya, well done. It's amazing. I also hold one day a book like this in my hand, but this is brilliant. This is her 3rd book, and this one is doing phenomenally well, she was telling us. So go and do that and check it out. And let's support Tanya as well. Alrighty, cool stuff. So what else is there? Boom. Yes, if you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. We are on 718 subscribers this morning, and as I said, we've got 5 patrons, so thank you to every single one of you. By subscribing, you're already helping. It's not costing you anything, so please subscribe if you're finding value, so that you're notified when we go live, and also when I post other videos that are valuable. And then very importantly, please go and connect. Oops, it's not that one. Let me just see what happened to that. There we go. So please go and connect with me on the VCF portal. You can just go to francois.co.za/portal to find it. You can save it to your phone's home screen. And to make it easy, there's the QR code on the screen. So you can just simply scan this one, with your phone's camera. It will open it up for you directly on your phone, and you can save it from there. But I update the information there on a weekly basis. So new photos, additional videos, we update the links to the different episodes. We update the featured list or the list of featured episodes that I want you to take note of. So please go there, do that, and you can really be engaged and involved with this. Alrighty, so let's get going, because I really got a lot to talk about. Let me just quickly see. It's got Flora. Good morning, Flora. Rihanna, nice to see you. Good morning. Love the rain. Yes, Renee. Good morning. Thank you, Kobus, for asking everybody for the support. Good morning, all. Looking forward. Russell, good morning. Nice to see you. Zodwa, good morning. Welcome. Ronnie Els, goeie genade. It's been longer than long. I hope you're doing well, and that all your endeavors and things are going very well. Thank you very much for joining us. Tanya Kunz has helped me create more stronger habits over 66 days. Yes, which was one of the things that we spoke about in that episode, and that she also talks about in her book. And Kobus is a living testament of what that can do. So go and check that out. Jaco Roots, good morning. And Dirk Groeneveld, awesome to have you over on LinkedIn. Thank you very much. All right, so let me get into this. So I want to start off talking about what is reinvention. And in my mind, there's sort of 2 aspects to reinvention. On the one hand, you want to reinvent because you want to make things better. So you want to enhance, you want to progress, you want to get better and better. So that is sort of one way of one way of reinventing. The other way, which I think we really think about when we hear the word reinvention, is you go back to the drawing board and you start from scratch. And that's often, I think, maybe one of the things why we never do reinvent ourselves, because we think that we need to start from scratch, and we think that this is going to take an immense amount of time, an immense amount of energy, an immense amount of commitment to actually get this done. So very, very few people go ahead. We all feel like, yes, it's time for a change. Yeah, it's time to switch things up, to do things differently. But we really do, because of all of that feelings. And I'm going to talk about what is keeping us from there. But then, why is it even important to reinvent ourselves? Now, in his book, Your Next 5 Moves, Patrick Bet-David was sharing about Ferrari. And I can't remember exactly which chapter it was, but he was talking about the evolution of Ferrari. So what he was speaking about is that they sort of focused on a specific Ferrari model, And they looked at 1976, 77, roundabout there, or 78, and then every 10 years, so 70, let's say it was 76, then 86, then 96, then 2006, and they looked at the same kind of model, and they looked at the speed, or at how much time did it take to go from 0 to 60 miles an hour for that particular model. And it started off in the 70s with something like, if I remember correctly, it was just over 8 seconds, or just about 8 seconds to go from 0 to 60. And then in the 80s, or was it more? It was a little bit more than that. In the 80s, it was 8 seconds. And then in the 90s, it came down to 4.9 or something like that. And then again, in the 2000s, it has come down to 2.9. And now they're sort of saying, well, what's going to happen now? Because it's another decade later. We're now in 2020. So is it going to be 1.5? Is it going to be less than 2 seconds? Is it going to be? But if you look at that evolution over a few decades, every decade they sort of halved the time with the same kind of model, the thing. So what they were doing with reinventing is making the engine better, and they maybe changed the shape of the car a little bit. But the performance and that, there was quite a few things that was just, they built the car and there it was, and it was absolutely fantastic. You can see this thing is obviously in red and it's beautiful and it's flat, and yet they go back and they say, well, this is great, but how can we reinvent it so it becomes better and better and better? And that's exactly what they did. So if you can stick to cars, I'm not a car person at all, but if we can stick to cars, if you look at what car manufacturers are doing, they're either designing and creating brand new models or brand new cars, different kind of cars. A few years back, I don't think we had things called SUVs. And then they're also looking at their existing models and say, how can we make this better? Let's invent it, or let's create or design it again. There's quite a few words that we can use for that. But let's do that again, and let's see, can we make the corners a bit rounder? Can we lower the profile a little bit? What can we do to the engine? What can we do to the lights so it looks a little bit more funky? So those are the kind of things that they're looking at, and then also as part of the process to enhance the performance. And that is what they are doing. So reinvention is a part of their DNA. It's a part of what they do. And I believe that humans are built for reinvention. We are built for evolution. We are built for progress. We are built for growth. We crave it. It's something that you must have. And I think it's the saddest thing in the world when you lose that, because there's things that happen to us. There are things that come over our path and things that cross our path that makes us just go like, okay, I'm done. This is what it is, and I'm just going to stick in my lane and not do anything anymore. So that's definitely that. But if I say that humans are built for it, it means that you are also built for it. Okay, so there you got it. You are also built for evolution and progress and growth. It all starts with your mindset. But I'm not going to make that start with your mindset, how you think about it. We've spoken about mindset so many times on the show, and I'm not going to get into that again. It is a prerequisite for reinvention, is that the way that you think about yourself, the way you think about what you are able to achieve, the way you see the world, all of those things are quite important, but I'm going to skip that step today. So when do you know, right? You already know there where you're sitting and listening to this, whether you're driving and listening to me or running on a treadmill, or you're sitting there watching with your cup of coffee. So by the way, cheers, cup of coffee. How do you know that it's time? It is time. Well, the first one is that the obvious thing, I would say, is that you feel stuck. You feel bored. You feel frustrated. I don't know, maybe you are. Maybe you just feel overwhelmed, and we don't always think that feeling overwhelmed would lead to us. Probably it's because we're stuck. Probably it's because we're frustrated. Now we're feeling overwhelmed because of those things. I'm not doing the things that I love anymore. I'm not loving the things that I'm doing that I used to love, and it's putting us in that situation. You're probably feeling uninspired. You're probably tired all the time. And yes, there can be lots of reasons for that. I can attest to that. So you need to look after your health. You need to eat right. You need to do all of those things, and because that can cause you to be tired. You could be overworked. But also sometimes you sit back and you think like, I don't understand. I just stay tired. It's all that's happening. I'm just staying tired, and I don't know why. So, Yeah, so that's all sort of on the one hand, but although you feel like this, you know in your deepest inner being that you are doing what you're supposed to be doing. That deep inside you are in love what it is that you're doing. It's just like you don't understand. It's like you lost the love for it. You lost the energy, the fun. It's not fun anymore. It used to be fun before we had compliance. It was fun, right? Now it's like, oh, it's a drag. It's not that fun anymore. But in your deepest, you know that you were put on this earth to make a difference through doing what it is that you're doing. And it doesn't matter whether you're in accounting or whether you're an engineer or whether you're a financial planner. It doesn't matter what it is that you do. You know inside that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's just that you're feeling uninspired and you don't want to get up in the morning anymore and you don't want to do this stuff. So that is sort of the one thing where there should be a light going on saying like, maybe it's time to relook things and see how we can switch things up. On the other hand, maybe you feel like I did. I felt like, where I was, I didn't belong. I'm not talking about where I worked. I was talking about what I was doing. So if I just look at what am I doing on a daily basis, and I look at it and I go like, I don't know, what the hell am I doing here? I don't like this. I sort of maybe know everything about it that I need to know, and I have the ability to do what it is that needs to be done. But gee whiz, I feel like an alien in this world. I don't want to be there. So that is definitely one of the big ones. You're not excited in the least bit about what you do. Not in the least, okay? It doesn't matter how much money you make or can make. It's just that it doesn't move you. It's just like you really hate getting up in the morning. So it's just like, I got to go do this thing because I got to earn money, because I've got bills to pay, and I don't even know how I landed up here, and I don't enjoy what I'm doing. So that's sort of completely on the other spectrum. So on the one hand, you lost your mojo, you lost the fun element, you feel tired, you're uninspired, but you know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. On the other hand, you know that you're doing things that you don't want to do and that you really, really despise. I don't want to use the word hate, so I will say despise. And that's how you feel, So these are two very clear signs that, it's time to reinvent yourself. And it doesn't matter what age you are. There's a video I wanted to watch, but there was a lot going on this week, so I couldn't. But there's this thing about like this one guy with Tom Billieu. I can't remember his guest's name, but Tom Billieu spoke to a person recently about exactly that, like, how do you reinvent yourself at any age? And I think that is extremely important to understand that age has got nothing to do. Whether you are 60, 65, 20, you can reinvent yourself today if you decide to do it. That is the most important thing. I'm going to talk about how do you actually go about doing that. But if I look at it in the first instance, where you feel tired and uninspired and that, but you know you're doing what you need to be doing, in that instance, we got to go with switching things up. We got to look at how do we change the way we do things? How do we introduce new things? How do I learn new skills? To sort of make this fun again for me. And then on the other hand, obviously, in the second instance where I despise what I'm doing. I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel completely lost. I feel, all of that. In that instance, it means going back to the drawing board and starting from scratch. All right. So let me just take this banner off here at the bottom quickly. Let me quickly see the comments before we move on. Good morning, Mr. G. He says, reinventing is evolution. Life experience make you better. Yes, absolutely. So thank you very much. Okay, Karen, nice to see you. Reinvention is so important, especially now. You have a movement of people who are more concerned about the planet than whether they have life insurance, but they still may want to provide for their children in a sustainable way. And how do they do that without supporting companies that are involved in destructive practices such as mining, tobacco, etc.? Yes, it's a complicated world we live in, right? It is like, how do we find this balance? And I think, again, before I move on to what keeps us from reinventing ourselves, is just to sort of say is that, again, and I see it all the time, and I see it more and more and more, is that people are looking for the solutions on the edges, in the extremes. And if you remember my episode with Jay Naidu during August, that is exactly what we spoke about. So definitely an episode you want to go check out as well. The answer lies somewhere in the middle. Maybe it will never be exactly in the middle, but it lies in the balance. It is, taking what you need to take, but giving back what you need to give. And it's this finding this balance. But now everybody's fighting for a voice on the one hand, and then we had people who always had the voice on the other hand, and we're trying to shift this thing, and it's not going to work. We've got to find the solution somewhere in the middle. All right, but let me not get into that. What keeps us from reinventing ourselves? Well, obviously, if you didn't guess it or you didn't feel it, it's probably fear. Is definitely the first one. Not probably, I'm pretty sure that it's fear. Because you are afraid of what you don't know. You are afraid of, whether this will work. What if I go down a different route? At least where I am now, I'm making money and I know I can pay my bills and I know I can do things, but now I'm going in a different direction. And what if this costs me my business? What if this sort of is the wrong decision to make? So we go into limbo and we rather do absolutely nothing. And we do nothing and we stay exactly where we are. So fear is one of the biggest things. The other one that is sort of maybe fear's excuse, probably, or a way of saying that you don't want to say that you're afraid to do it. So you just say, hey, I'm content. So complacency, it's just, this is my life. This is what it is. Now, I can also tell you this, that I've seen in my life where certain people had a plan and they did that thing over and over and over for 40 years and they retired very well. So it's different from person to person. I can't do that. It'll drive me mad doing the same thing forever. But it is a solid plan. So it's not to say being complacent is necessarily a bad thing. But when you feel like you need to reinvent yourself, you need to recognize when you are complacent. When complacency is not your friend. When contentment is not your friend. When it's really holding you back and you're not fulfilling your full potential. You're not reaching the levels that you can reach if you just did something a little different or just something a little bit more. How you can get there. And then I think obviously something big is also like, okay, so I know I need to reinvent myself. I want to reinvent myself, but holy moly, I don't know where to start. I don't know where the starting point is. And I know I felt like that. And I think it took me quite a while to figure out that, listen, I actually have no clue. I thought I knew. And I thought I sort of knew what my journey was going to be and the path that I needed to follow. Until I realized that I didn't like this path. I want to get offered onto a different path. It was like, okay, so now what? So now what is the first step? And hopefully I'm going to give that to you. It doesn't matter which way you want to go, whether you want to switch things up, you want to go back to the drawing board. I'm going to give you a starting point. Not knowing ourselves is a huge, huge thing. And again, I told you the story before about Big Brother when that came out in, I think it was in 2000 when it aired for the first time with Big Bad Brad and Ferdy and all the people in the house. And, I looked at that and they had these diary room sessions and I thought to myself, like, how does this guy know at his young age? And at that point I was 25. So, like, I don't like this, I don't like that. This is what's important to me. And I'm going like, where are you from? And that is one of the biggest mistakes I made as a young guy, is not to go figure out who I am. I just was a normal guy from the Free State, playing sport, going to my job, doing what it is that I'm doing, instead of really taking the time to get to know myself. So again, it may very well be that you are 60, 65, 70, 80, it doesn't matter what age you are. You can be 18, you can be 20, 25, 30. If you don't know yourself, the first thing you need to do is to get to know yourself very well, because that sets the tone for everything else. And it's actually very easy to do that, and I'll share that with you in a second. Then another thing, and you've heard this, a lot of times people around you will give you advice and you think that they're your friends and your family and your loved ones and they have your best interest at heart, but they're just as fearful. They don't want to see you fail. We are built to protect one another. You don't want to see the other person make a mistake. You don't want to see the other person possibly losing everything. We don't tend to focus on what you can gain in the process. We tend to focus on the things that you can lose in the process. And then we say, like, I would never do that. Or, yes, no, that sounds cool, but remember, blah, 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 blah. And those inputs are all valuable, but it often keeps us then from taking the action, because what if things don't pan out? But we never ask the question, what does it look like if it does? And do I have the ability to make it? Do I have the enough commitment and energy to put behind it? Am I going to, do I have just like, do I have what it takes to make this happen? And then if it doesn't happen, at least I know I gave it a good go, and there's a good lesson in that to do it for the next time. So those things are extremely important from my point of view, and something that we definitely need to consider. But listening to those around us often keeps us from doing the things that we in our hearts know that we are supposed to be doing. And then I think a big thing as well is we don't take enough time to reflect. And I think I spoke about this before as well. But you've got to go and sit and think, reflect on the day, reflect on the week, reflect on the month, reflect on the year that has passed. But also reflect on how do you want things to be going forward. Go and reflect and think like, okay, I did it like this. This was the outcome. Was there a different way for me to do this? But we don't take time to reflect. Okay, and it can be as simple as 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon or in the evening. It could be as long as half an hour a day. It could be taking a whole week off to go and reflect and figure out where you are and what is really important to you. And also one of the things that I can maybe add to this whole thing, what's keeping us from reinventing ourselves, is what we think society wants from us and what others perceive to be good and not so good. What others perceive to be the right thing and not the right thing to do. You know, I particularly think about people like they always put their family like first. In their hearts, they know that they're an entrepreneur first and their family is possibly second. But by putting the family first, you are creating a lot of issues for yourself because socially it is what is expected. What would say like that's a good husband or a good wife. They put their family above everything else. But you are wired in a certain way. You can't help it, you know. And whether the family is first, second, or third, as long as they're in the top, because that is extremely important, you know, who's to say that you're wrong? But we listen to others and we listen to what society is telling us what we should be doing. All right, so let's get into the 3 practical steps. The first 3 practical steps that I want to share with you is for when you want to enhance. So when you need to switch things up. So you're in that position where you feel all these weird and wonderful feelings, and but on the inside, you know you're doing doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing, but things are not like, it's not clicking. It's a drag. You know, it's not as nice as it was before. So what do you do first? Well, first I would say, you know, apart from obviously step 1 would be realizing this, but once you've realized this, what is the first step? Well, in my mind, I would say what I would go and do, and I think about this so much. I think about where the industry is going. I see what the trends are. I listen to what people are saying. You know, I was reading again this week that, you know, and things that was written back in 2012. It's not even recent stuff. In 2012, where somebody was talking about sales and focusing on the human side and focusing on the person and being there for them and really making it personal and purposeful. You know, and those things just hit me again to say, well, you know, if I see where things are going in our industry, it's hard to understand that people don't go there in droves. But it's also because we're so used to doing things the way that we do it, and the complacency and the contentment and having a process that you follow, you know, all of that. And then also with that, by the way, so let me just throw that in there, is see, and this is one thing that I don't like, is where people who have seen the light are sort of not really, on the one hand, they try and be a proponent for this new way of doing things and saying there's more value in this. And that's great, and that's the only thing we should be doing. But then on the other hand, we start pointing fingers to other people not seeing the light yet. And that's not helping. It's not helping the industry. It's not helping the profession. What we need to be doing is flying the flag, talking the talk, saying, why is this valuable? Why is this valuable? We should be educating clients, because at the end of the day, if you really want to make a difference, and I quickly want to share this story with you, that in Kenya, there was a study done because they've got these taxis. I can't remember what they call. It's like a funny name. But these drivers are like drivers from hell. And when people get in, I mean, the death toll is as high through those accidents than most of the other major causes of death. And what they did is to say, well, they sort of split them into 3 groups. On the one group, they just had a sticker with words that said, you know what, if you feel unsafe and that, tell the driver to drive more safely. And then the other group, they had the same kind of sticker, but they also had images of severed limbs and like all gross kind of stuff. And then the other group, which was the control group, they didn't have any stickers. And they obviously then let them do that for a year. And then they looked at the findings, and they found that where the stickers were in the taxi, that the accidents dropped by 50%, claims dropped by something like, I don't know, it's also a ridiculous percentage. Whereas the group without the stickers, nothing has changed. And what they found at the end of the day with this particular piece of research is that, you know what? One, you make it personal, because if you're the taxi driver and everybody in here says, listen, I'm afraid, I don't want to be in an accident, I want to get there safe, it makes them think about, what they're doing. So by making it personal, and then also if you make it, purposeful, so there's purpose behind it about the bigger impact that this has, and there was another study done to sort of prove that part of it. I'm not going to go into that, but that is extremely important, So the human side of things are so important, making it personal, focusing on the person and the human being and what is important to them, but also helping them understand what it is that they're doing, what impact that has on others. So it's almost this domino effect going on. But you research the latest industry trends. I mean, that is sort of step one. And the way that you would do that, because one of these things are like, obviously it was lifestyle financial planning and it's financial coaching, even financial literacy is also a thing that sort of come up because it's so important. But then it's also this focusing on the human side of things, which is, I guess, where the coaching thing also comes in. But there's also people that see these things separately. So how do you do that? Well, you attend seminars, you attend summits, you read books, you talk to clients. Very importantly, talk to your clients. What is it that they want? Maybe your idea for how you reinvent yourself lies within your client base. But you need to talk to them. You need to ask them. You need to come up with a few questions that you can really ask that is really well put together, that will give you great insight and great data to sort of work from. So that is the first step. You got to research what the latest trends are so you can open your thinking. That's why I say you need to do that. You need to open your mind. You need to open your heart to new ideas. Just saying, well, this is what I've been doing, and that is what a lot of you have done. You said, like, come on, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a different way of having a bigger impact and really changing people's lives for the better. And then you said, oh, here's this thing, and I really like it. And you started learning it, and you started researching, and you started implementing some of that stuff into your business. And that's how you're reinventing your business. The bulk of the financial advisor population has not seen the light yet, and I want to include accountants and lawyers and everybody in here. And I think last week I spoke about like the dangers of processes and systems and those things, where I actually said we forget about the human being on the other side. We're so busy driving the process. So that's very, very important. Then the next step I would do, because research means it's what you're learning, it's what you're listening to, it's those kind of things. But then you've got to go and engage. You've got to have conversations with thought leaders, listen to what they're saying, talk to them, engage with them, connect with them, and see sort of, what is the deeper thinking, because often we don't get enough from literature and blogs and podcasts and those kind of things. But try and find these people and say, like, why do you think this? Where are you going with this? What is the bigger picture here? What prompted this? So that you can get a deep understanding to see whether these things actually resonate with you. You can also then go ahead and take some of those things and discuss some of them with your clients, because clients will then go like, okay, this is interesting, or no, you know what, that's not going to make a difference to me. Because also different client bases will have different needs, because remember, we tend to attract our ideal clients. And if we work in a certain way, we're going to attract that kind of client that wants to work in that way. So again, that's what I want to say. Focus on what you're doing and how you're building and where you think the value is shifting to, and we educate in that way, and others will follow in due course. Forget about what others are not doing. Let's focus on what we do. And then, as I said, the third step for this is to identify what resonates with you, or what resonates with me. And then I will go ahead and draw up a one-page plan, a simple blank. You can take a blank piece of paper like this and just start writing on it and say, you know what, these are the things that resonate with me. These are the things that I'm going to implement. And then also say, okay, but what is my sort of skills path or my learning path? What what is that gap between what is it that I need in able to implement these things, and how am I going to learn it? When am I going to learn it? And how am I going to go through the process to get myself into that position to finally start implementing these new things? Because that journey of learning is just as exciting. Becoming aware, I think about the financial abuse specialist qualification that Michelle Hoskin and the Standards International team offers at the moment. That is something like, I thought that would be a fantastic sort of, something that just like everybody wanted to know about it. But it's like we're so ignorant about the things that our clients are really battling with, or we're afraid to get involved with these things because possibly we don't know how to deal with it. Well, here's a training thing that you can do that's going to really help you make the biggest impact that you could have on somebody's life. It's really something that one needs to consider. And then what the sort of last part of that third step is to go and look for resources. So in your plan, you need to write like what resources you need, where will you find the resources, who's going to help you, where you're going to learn these things, to have that plan. And then just say, by when do I want to implement what? So that is an easy way, and you don't have to overhaul your practice in order to switch it up. It's maybe one little thing. Maybe it's a philosophy. Maybe you enhance the philosophy that you have around financial planning by saying, you know what, I'm going to step away from doing this and I'm going to start doing this because I see the value, or because, it would be great if somebody could work in that way with me. So that is extremely, extremely important, and I think it's a wise way to look at it, and also then to switch things up in your practice. All right, so those are the 3 steps if you want to switch it up. So then obviously we've got the 3 practical steps to reinvent yourself from scratch. And remember what I said, one of the things is that we don't know ourselves. And that was the case for me, where I had no clue what was really important to me. I had no clue who I was, what I liked, what I didn't like, even what I was good at. And there's sort of 3 or 4 things that I did that was like a huge floodlight that came on. I felt like a rabbit in the spotlight. It was just amazing, the realizations that I got from that and the value that it's had, and how much easier it helped me to make decisions. It made it so much easier to make decisions and not to second guess what it is that you're doing. And still, there was important decisions that I had to make this last few months. It's not easy, the bigger the decision, the harder it is, and it's absolutely like that. But at least if you follow this and you've got a very clear direction, because somebody just said one thing to me, he said, but, you said this to me, does this help you get there? Does this align with what is important to you? And then you go like, yes, so do it, Sometimes we overthink these things and we don't get there. Okay, so what are these steps? So first one is get to know yourself intimately and deeply and properly. And you need to take that time. And sort of the tools that I used to do that was DISC. Some people talk about social styles. I don't know if there's other things, Myers-Briggs, Enneagram. So there's all these different kinds of sort of tests or methods or philosophies that you could look at and follow. For me, DISC was a simple one to do. It's very much in line with social style. So it's whether you're introverted, extroverted, and then whether you're detail-orientated or not. And it sort of plots you in 4 planes, but then at least you've got an idea. And the other thing that I loved about DISC was that it shows you your natural style, like if you just at home, call it like that, and then your adaptive style. And those are usually what you think you need to be in the work environment, or in maybe situations where you're under stress or that. So then you understand both of them, and you know like what to work on and where to go and why you do things in the way that you do them. So that was sort of the first step. The second one for me was the values, to understand what my values are. So values are just what is important to you, how they rank, so that you can understand why certain things is very easy to do. And a lot of people are saying, and I can see that in my own life, just look at your bank statement and see where your money flows. And that's a very clear indication of what is important to you. So the things that you spend money on is a starting point. Whatever you spend money on, that is important to you. But also then if you go through this process of doing that, you will find out what is genuinely important to you and why it's important to you. And suddenly there's a lot of things in your life that you're going to say like, but why in the hell am I even doing this? Let me just stop, because it's not even important to me, but it's really taking up a lot of my time. All right. So that's the second one. Then the third one was strengths. When I did my Clifton Strengths Finder, to just figure out what am I naturally sort of good at. Didn't mean that I didn't need to develop it. It was just an indication of I think on the one hand, how my brain works, and on the other hand, just what comes more naturally to me and the things that I can develop quicker and faster than anything else. Because spending time on things that you are not naturally good at is a waste of time. So you want to understand, what am I really good at? What are the things that makes me tick? And there's also another light that went on when I went through that entire process. So your strengths is definitely important. And then something that sort of was it was just like, okay, was ask others, So ask your friends, your family, your wife, your husband, your children, colleagues, clients, anybody. Ask them what they think about when they think about you. And you've got to be open to those answers, the things that came out was very clear to me. And what they said was some of the things that was right here in my face that I would never have considered even as an option. And I think many of you do exactly the same. Possibly, you're sitting in a situation where you have a passion for something, but you don't, like I say, you don't know. It's this thing that you love to do, but you never see it as something that can become something more. And the reality is that it doesn't matter what we do today, you can make money with it. So money shouldn't even come into the equation to say, well, if I know who I am, I know what's important to me, I know what I'm good at, I know what others are saying about me, all of these things seem to be aligned, but I can't make money with it, so I can't do it. That's what I did for so long. Forget about money, because when you do stuff that aligns, the money will follow. Doesn't matter what it is that you do. So very important to look at it from that perspective in my mind. But asking others is a very powerful way of figuring out what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And then once you've identified what you are deeply interested in or even passionate about, but I believe that passion comes with expertise and how good you get at something, then usually the passion comes. It's not often that you go fishing for the first time and say, I'm passionate about fishing. It's the more you learn about fishing and the more you go and do it, that then, I love this thing. And then you're passionate about it. You want to know everything about it. So passion comes with time. You don't have passion just the first time you saw something. Okay, you are interested in something and it seems like it's something you might like, but then you need to get into it. You need to learn, do, learn, do. And then at a stage you're going to get like, holy moly, this is amazing. This is the only thing I want to do. And then you really delve in, because that's when your passion ignites. And that is sort of my view around that. Just forget about money there. And then lastly, you again create that one-page plan, because that's where so many things fall flat. Yes, goal setting and all this stuff is important, but just by writing down your plan and saying, you know what, how will I learn? What is it that I need to learn? How will I learn? If I think about myself and I want to learn programming, it's like if I decide that is sort of the route that I want to go, then there's so many options where I can go and start learn to program. There's many free online resources that you can use. So the same with financial planning. If you want to get into financial coaching, if you want to get into focusing on stuff, there are formal qualifications that you can go and do. And then there are a lot of free resources to get you started and to really get you into this and to see, well, is this something that I'm going to like? So, but you got to have a plan and say, how am I going to do this? How are you going to start to implement this, or how are you going to start to apply what you've learned? So let's say I decide I want to get completely out of training. I just want to start to program. How am I going to make that switch? There's got to be a plan. There's got to be something that I think is going to work, and to say, well, this is what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to do it on the side, and then eventually I'm just going to do that, or I'm just going to call it quits and just go full in. Maybe your circumstances will allow for that. But don't be afraid to make that decision. And then are you going to start your own thing? Are you going to go out and do your own FSP? Are you going to join an existing one? Are you going to join an existing business or start your own business? Because maybe you're in financial planning and you feel like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing here, but maybe there's something else in financial services that you can go and do where you can use your knowledge, your expertise, but that you can be more passionate about and that you can sort of use to your advantage. Or on the other hand, you're going to just reinvent yourself completely and go out and go start do pottery or sell houses or do something completely unrelated to this. But it's at the end of the day all about happiness. How happy are you? How energized are you? How focused are you? How much do you enjoy what you're doing? Is it a drag, or is it just like, wow, this is amazing? It doesn't feel like work, So that's important. And then when are you going to start? You know, you got to have those things on that one-page plan. And then you got to commit and you got to go do it. So the fourth step in all of this that I haven't included, because then it goes from 3 to 4, but obviously is then taking action and actually implementing what it is that you plan. So these 3 steps are meant to get you going, to get you started, and to sort of hopefully push you in the right direction if this is something that you feel. And yeah, that is sort of that from this perspective. Let me see what Bryn says. The morning, Francois, you make such a great point. I was thinking about it this morning. So really struck a chord. I see so many people on LinkedIn trying to make themselves look good by attacking the processes of others, especially financial advisors. Like you say, fly the flag, lead by example, don't be that person. I can only sort of say yes. Second. Francois, you have a natural talent to highlight topical things in a real way to help me open the mind a little bit more. Thank you, Carol. Although things might be known, it is good to point them out to make one think. I think it's often we know things and we heard things and we read things and we saw things, but we never used them. That's the problem. So what I'm trying to do is to say, well, yes, here's a reminder of things, and then how do you need to sort of do it and implement it in your life, you know? And it's not like I've got all the answers as well, you know. I think there's a lot of answers in this community, so a lot of people here can add a lot of value to say, listen, I've been through this. Just by sharing your story, it's going to help a lot of people, whether it was a story of success or a story of failure. I think story of failures, well, and that's also in your mind, you know, as sitting on the other side, maybe this thing that I failed. No, you didn't. You know, it's part of the process. I can tell you many stories where I failed, you know, but I don't know, it's like people don't want to hear that always. They're more interested in like, what did you do to reach, you know, this? And there's also this thing about perceived success where it looks like somebody is very successful, but in reality, they're not even close yet. So very, very important. Cool beans. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that is me for this Tuesday morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning and for listening and for engaging. I deeply appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And yeah, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/VCF, or just scan the QR code here at the top, there. Scan that with your phone, go to the app. There's also a blue button there. And but apart from that, yeah, just thank you very much from my side. I wish you all a very good week. I think it's going to be raining for most of the week. So enjoy, be safe if you're traveling on the roads, and do the best that you can do. Be blessed and prosper. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.